A lot of middle-aged married dudes with a bunch of kids will describe their house as being a zoo, but mine actually is. Starting off with our newest enclosure, this is our new age enclosure we did a whole video about. It's right here, probably in November. This enclosure is 5 feet long, 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and inside is probably one of my rarest reptiles. Inside is Apollo. It's a Drymarchon species. So this is a unicolor crebo. He's about, I don't know, 5 feet long. We're thinking about upgrading him into something a little bit bigger because he's going to get a little bit bigger. The cool thing about Drymarchon species is they're really smart, which means they need more room than your average snake. And I prefer to have my snakes in enclosures that are at least as long as they are, so they can totally spread out. The enclosure itself has heating, it has lighting, it also serves as a shelf. And on the bottom here, New Age also sent me their stand, which is full of these awesome tarantula cribs enclosures. Thank you guys so much for sending me these. I have to do a bunch of reels and videos about tarantula cribs because we've got scorpions in them, and we have some that are actually used for reptiles. Anyway, that's for a different video. Let's move on and show you some of the bioactive stuff that's gonna be featured on the new channel probably next month. Okay, this is actually our newest enclosure. It's a 36-36-18 paludarium. It's got water in the bottom. It has a small little land area, and it's not necessary to have a big one because we've got lots of climbing space for these mountain horn dragons. It's 3 mountain horn dragons. They're all dudes, so there's no breeding going on in here. You know, 3 mountain horn dragons sitting in a paludarium 5 feet apart because they're not breeding, or whatever the saying is. Either way, we've got a bunch of fish in here too. And what I love about mountain horn dragons is A, they're just super chill, super cool. They don't bite you. They're not gonna jump around and try to get away from you. They're gonna jump on you and just kind of sit there like you're a log. And the reason is, in the wild, they are ambush predators. They're not that quick. They're not that agile. They don't move that fast off the get-go. So they wait for something to go by, boom, and then grab it. And that's kind of it. So they're gonna chill most of the time, but what I like is that they have fish in the bottom of this enclosure. We've got zebra danios, we've got large danios, a school of tiger barbs in here, which makes things move around really, really fast. And we've got some rainbow sharks too. I'm not really a fish guy. I'm taking all of my expertise from the guy who runs the fish store that we went to. So it's kind of a new thing for us to learn about fish, which we'll talk about in the next enclosure here. But we've got some plants in here that aren't really that interesting. We do have a Thai constellation monstera, which are much cheaper than they used to be. Aquatic plants, and then we've got some epiphytes as well. In the background is a universal rocks background that goes all the way into the water. I love this enclosure. I can't wait to make an entire full video about it. And the water is crystal clear and lit up, which is in contrast to the next one. This is a little bit different. So what I wanted is a bright world. When I went to Southeast Asia, where these mountain horn dragons are from, it was very bright and it wasn't this kind of dark look. When I went to Central America and Costa Rica, everything looked a little bit more dark and gloomy inside the jungle because it was so much more dense. That's what we're going for here. So the lighting is a little bit different. And as you can see in the water portion, it is much darker, which is what you're gonna see. And I wanted to make it so that it was a biome. So all the fish are from the right area, like you saw in the last one. Another Zoomed 36-36-18, which is a paludarium, which doesn't have a land area at all, is home to some red-eye tree frogs and some fish, and some microfauna too. And the moss is taking off. Obviously, this is a reptile channel. You guys are here for the reptiles, but can we take a second to look at how this has grown in comparison to last year's tour? Just a year difference, and it looks like a different world. This is what the Central American jungle looks like. I've been there. This is a slice of it in my home, and that is what we were going for. One day there was no moss, boom, all of a sudden there was moss within a week. So we're obviously doing something right. Humidity's on point. The frogs are growing great. They actually bred last year, right after we made that reptile house tour last year. And we're gonna make a better rain chamber this year so that they breed again. And hopefully I can get both females to start breeding as we get the peanut gallery over here chiming in. And we do have some not rare plants, but interesting plants. We've got a Monstera dubia in here. We've got some philodendrons. We have that staghorn fern. And then I did add a Nepenthes, which is technically from the old world, but I mean, having a pitcher plant on here is kind of cool. One of the things people love about reptiles is they're so darn cute. And here we've got our chief cute officer. Now, this is a 14-year-old geriatric Pomeranian Chihuahua mix who has no teeth and is otherwise known as a tremble rat. If you make any sort of sound whatsoever, pick him up, look in his general direction, think about him while you're across the world, he will start to shake and vibrate, which is totally fine. That's how he keeps his temperature up. Obviously, this is not an exotherm, so exotherms need heat around them. This guy needs love. So if you're not smooching him, thinking about him, petting him, he will start to shake like this. So the problem is he hasn't been petted on for about 13.4 seconds, which is as long as he's able to go without showing this allergic reaction like we have right here. Now, he does lick out of the side of his mouth because he has no teeth. We had to get those removed for insurance reasons because he was just too vicious and he was starting to bite people. Obviously, an animal this size can destroy flesh in just a single second. The skin on somebody's ankles when they walk into my house was never safe, so for those reasons, we got his teeth removed. He has a white face, but that's just part of his blending into the snow. Has nothing to do with the fact that he's 98 dog years old. In the messy corner of the living room, this is actually one of my favorite enclosures because it's grown in so much. One thing with these bioactive enclosures is they take time. So you can set them up and I get comments, oh, well, it's barely planted. Well, this thing looked barely planted, and then now I have to go in with scissors every couple weeks and tear things apart because it's growing in so much. Oh, the animals that you want to, so inside this, we've got the Terribilis, which is known as the terrible dart frog because they're the most poisonous vertebrate on Earth. So of all the animals in the animal kingdom that have poison, the one on land that is most likely to kill you if you were to touch it or ingest it, don't stick frogs in your orifices, of course, I always say, is the terrible dart frog, the Philibatis terribilis. And we've got some microfauna too. Somehow a big millipede just popped up. I'm not gonna be able to find it for this episode, obviously, but we'll just be sitting there watching TV and then there's a millipede kind of on the glass a bit. And down below is our misting system. So all of these enclosures are on a misting system, all this entire row. And then we've got some on the other side which aren't, but we're gonna fix that probably next month. So the misting system is a bucket with a misting system and a timer that just goes off. And then all of these will start misting at the exact same time, twice a day or however many times we want. And that's great because that means I don't have to mist anything. So frogs, and other stuff. Now, obviously, those aren't the only frogs that I have in this collection. We've got one really expensive one that takes so much money to take care of, but it's totally worth it. This here is Megatron. Megatron is a Cutialis pupaningus, so a lot of you have this exact species of frog. Of course, this is a different morph. We've got the green with the white belly and the cute fakes and the big cheeks. Now, those big cheeks are used to hold spit up, which it projects at you when he's smiling. So he'll smile at you and you'll be like, oh, so cute, and then he'll spit up this vile, disgusting, milky solution right into your mouth as you think he's being super cute. It's their defense mechanism. Also, they will projectile poop all over the place immediately after you take a dirty diaper off and about to put a clean one on. So always be careful of that. But in general, Cutialis pupaningus is probably my favorite frog, and I can't wait to see this specimen grow up, and maybe we'll have smaller frogs that he can help rear as well. I just wanted to jump back over here to feed the fish because it's super fun to watch. Obviously, don't feed your fish too much. It's a bad habit, and if you want to break your bad habit, you can with today's sponsor, Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. If you're looking to quit your bad habit, but you don't want to quit the habit, just take the bad out of it, that is what Fume is for. Plus, what I love about it is no batteries. It doesn't produce any smoke or vapor. Air in, air out. There's a core inside. This one is cinnamon hearts. It's my favorite flavor, but there's a whole bunch of different ones too. If you want mint or if you want grapefruit, just go ahead, put it in there. Sounds so sad. So satisfying. And then you can spin it around to decide how much air you want to go into it. And then also it's just a fidget spinner too. Perfectly balanced, looks beautiful. You can get one that looks like this or that looks like this. So if you're looking to save money, we're talking 1/3 of the cost of your bad habit in all likelihood, with no toxic flavors, no vapor, no smoke, nothing come out of your mouth when you breathe into it. This is for you, and you can get that free topper when you go to tryfume.com/Wickens. That's tryfum.com/Wickens and order the Journey Pack today. Thanks, Fume, for sponsoring today's video. Let's move on with the rest of the tour. Obviously, when you have this many reptiles, you need a staff to take care of them and to take care of your facility. And what we've got here is Russell. Russell is our head of security, and as you can see, he is ferocious. If anyone were to come in here and try to steal any of these reptiles or harm them in any way, this is the guy that you're going to be greeted with. And as you can see, he's alert, and ready to roll. This is one of the most boring enclosures that I have upstairs. I mean, upstairs is everything supposed to be beautiful and nice to look at, and people walk in and they're like, whoa, what the heck is that? We had the furniture delivered and the dudes almost ran out the door because there's a snake in here. Either way, this is Rocco, our crested gecko. So this is my wife's crested gecko that came with her. It was kind of like a package, right? Like I got the wife and then the kids and the crested gecko showed up also. But we're gonna make this a much nicer enclosure, maybe put a background into it. It's just an 18, 24 inch tall enclosure. It's not on a misting system because it's on the other side of the house basically, or the other side of the living room. We mist it every day. We make sure that Rocco's super happy. And he's a big, beautiful gecko. He's absolutely gorgeous. It's just that we don't want him downstairs with the rest of the geckos because A, he's a male, so he's not gonna fit with the trio that I have downstairs, and he's special. So he gets to live upstairs in this very boring enclosure that the next time I show this living room is gonna be much nicer, I promise. The focal piece of the living room is this bad boy here. Remember the turtles that destroyed my house basically and shoot a hole into the lining and then it just dumped 75 gallons of water into my basement? Well, this is the tank that they were in. There's no more water in it. In fact, we put a more arid setup for some collared lizards. My friend Cody from Herp Havoc drove all the way up here from the US to put this background in that he made. It came in 3 sections, put it together, it looks absolutely immaculate, and we did a little substrate mix, so it's a bioactive substrate. We've got plants growing in there, and then the occupants are some collared lizards. So we had lizard and tizard at the very beginning. Unfortunately, one of those lizards died basically immediately. So I'm not sure exactly the origins or what happened, but lizard is still alive. And then we got a breeding partner for lizard. So we're gonna actually name them Leinard and Skynard. I think it's just better names, but either way, hopefully we're going to produce some of these beautiful collared lizards. But either way, the background looks exactly like what you'd see in the southwest of the US where collared lizards are from. That is the entire point, is we wanted to make a biome, something that looks exactly like, presents exactly like where you'd see them in the wild. We got UVB over the entire thing. We've got a basking spot and we missed it sparingly. So we have a water dish in there for them that Cody also made for us. And then we mist it sometimes to simulate if there is a little bit of rain or mist or dew, which sometimes you'd get certain parts of the year in places where they're from. Also, it's not just reptiles. We've also got an entire security crew that Russ likes to manage. So here we've got Josie. Josephine is a golden retriever. Obviously, Josephine is a 1-year-old golden retriever. She's trained. So for example, she knows some really crazy commands, like watch this one. Be cute. Absolutely nailed it. We've also got Nellie here. Now Nellie, her only trick is to be cute also. So these are absolutely useless to the operation, but it's a good break to pet them outside. Also, the white stuff here is it's the water source. We just melt it and then give it the water, and we're gonna go inside. Holy it's cold. And lastly, in the corner here, this is an enclosure we showed you last year. This is the one that has bad news. This was our very first set of emerald tree boas. We got a male and a female Suriname emerald tree boas right from Suriname, which were farmed. I'm convinced they were wild caught because they came in full of parasites. I mean, full of hookworm. And I took the male to the vet. I spent way more money on the vet trying to cure this animal than I ever spent on the animal. And unfortunately, yesterday, he finally passed. We had him for just under a year. I think we got him on the 12th of January. Today is the 7th of January as we're filming this. So he lasted almost a year. Unfortunately, he did pass. The female is doing fantastic though, because we did separate them. So she's gonna be going into the big enclosure downstairs, this big giant 1,500 gallon enclosure. It's just that I wanted to make sure that we got a clean fecal from her even a year later, make sure she's good to go. And then I was hoping to put the male in there too. But for now, we've got a 36-inch long enclosure. It's 2 feet tall. Obviously not a forever enclosure, but we just talked about exactly where she's going. There is some plants in this enclosure and a little pond area. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it after. Maybe we'll put some dart frogs in, maybe we'll put some geckos in. Either way, it's a display piece, and I'd like to keep it that way. Let me know what your favorite and least favorite enclosures were, and we'll fix up the one that you like the least in an upcoming video. As always, we do videos twice a week, so I'll see you in the next one.